I've been reflecting a lot on my past relationships recently, and in this video, I am going to be sharing the 11 biggest lessons that I've learned about love and dating. I have come to learn that the emotional maturity and the emotional readiness of both partners is what determines the health and longevity of a relationship, way more than just how much they love each other. The truth is that love alone will not save a relationship. A successful relationship requires that both partners choose to walk alongside each other with humility, integrity, patience, communication, and continued personal growth. And if one or both people don't have the internal skills and resources to do that together, the relationship will fail. Never chase someone who was willing to lose you the first time, and definitely never take them back. So there was this guy that I chased after he broke up with me, and I had never done that before. But this particular person felt different to me, and I know it sounds so cheesy, but he was very special to me. So I chased him and I convinced him to give it another go. We even moved in together, and we had just about finished furnishing our new place when he left me again. And that taught me a very painful lesson. It literally doesn't matter how different or how special you think they are or how deep the connection was. There's never any point to chasing anyone who was willing to leave you the first time, because the chances are they're going to do it again. So, lesson well and truly learned. If somebody wants to leave me, I will hold open the door, let them go, and move on. This one is so controversial, but I think that picking the nice guy can end up being the worst mistake you can make. I've learned that a lot of nice guys are not actually being kind, they're just scared. They're scared to say what they really think. They're scared to rock the boat. They never argue with you and they give you what you want, but that's just because they're afraid of conflict. People who want to keep the peace can be the scariest ones of them all, because they're the same ones that will ghost you suddenly to avoid the discomfort of an argument. They're the ones that will make false promises in order to please you and tell you things that you want to hear instead of just being honest. And I found that they generally make poor partners because they're unable to work through discomfort or issues as a team. Something that I've learned the hard way is to be very wary of a man who never challenges you or calls you out on anything. And I found that settling for the safe option ends up being the most unsafe option, because insecure, soft men don't make good partners. That insecurity bleeds into the relationship and makes you feel unsafe. And I've learned that I need to choose someone who's assertive, secure, strong, who isn't afraid to disagree with me or set boundaries with me. That is the type of man that knows what they want. They bring up the uncomfortable conversations, they tell you their boundaries up front, and they will stay in the discomfort of conflict and actually work through it with you. And that kind of masculine energy is what creates real safety and trust in a relationship, even if it doesn't always feel soft and comfortable. Similar to the last point, don't choose to be with someone because you fell in love with their trauma or their pain. And oh my God, did this happen to me? I gave this person so much of myself and my love because I wanted to help him and I wanted to love him into healing. And ladies, we want a man, not a little boy. And I feel like when we fall in love with someone's wounds, we turn into their mother, not their partner. And that is such a weird, dysfunctional, and unhealthy dynamic that would never work. So the lesson is to fall in love with someone's wholeness, not their pain. And I will never make this mistake again. The best thing that you can do to maximize your chances of being in a happy relationship is to do your own healing work. Your blocks around love will sabotage any good relationship. So for me, I learned that I had a wound around feeling chosen, and that subconscious wound created this void in my relationships where it felt like I kept wanting more love, more intimacy, more depth, because I kept scanning for evidence that I was chosen. But that evidence never felt satisfying. And even with a stack of evidence that the person showed up for me over and over, I still felt unsure inside if I was chosen. And it's actually because I was always choosing others over myself. Praise goes a lot further than criticism. You are much more likely to get a better response from them if you praise them for what they did right rather than criticize them for what they're doing wrong. So, for example, if you want them to spend more time with you, instead of saying, "You never spend time with me, you're always working," try saying, "I love spending time with you. When can you next take a break from work?" Men especially tend to respond better to praise than criticism, so encourage them for the things they're doing well and use positive framing for when you want to ask them to do something different. Love is not transactional, and I will never settle for a 50-50 relationship ever again where we have arguments about how much you bring to the table versus how much I bring to the table. That is not a romantic relationship. That is a business transaction. And I want to be in a relationship where we both give it our all and both show up fully to that relationship, whatever that looks like for the both of us. I am done being in relationships where I have to justify my value or prove that I'm doing enough. And the right relationship really shouldn't feel like a power struggle or like I owe you because you did that thing for me. And looking back, I should have just dumped him instead of just trying to teach him my philosophy on love over and over again. Because if somebody needs to have a conversation about what they're getting in return, then they don't really appreciate you. And if they can't appreciate your presence without getting resentful about what you're contributing or giving back to them, then they're just not your person. This is a big one. You can be with someone for years, you can have thousands of hours of conversations, you can live with them, build a whole life with them, and yet still not really know them. Because you only see who someone is when shit hits the fan and their deepest fears are activated. Fear and pride bring out the worst in people, and I have found that you don't actually know someone until you see how they respond when their ego is being threatened or they're under an immense amount of pressure or stress. Do they stay in the trenches and solve the issues with integrity? Do they lie? Do they manipulate? Do they run? Do they shut down or lash out? Because in the end, anyone can be a great partner when things are easy, but somebody that acts with self-awareness, integrity, and maintains their principles when it's hard, that is the type of person that you can trust to love you through real life, not just the highlight reel. I have learned that the right man for me is a man who can look fear in the eyes and still stand beside me. Sometimes it is the absence of love or the way that love was withheld that teaches you more than the love that you received. It forces you to look inward and to ask yourself, what part of me is drawn to this? What wound is this mirroring? And so in that way, no relationship was ever a waste of time. They were always teaching you something crucial about yourself, and every deep connection leaves behind a lesson. You just have to pay attention long enough to understand it. I used to expect love to come in a particular form, and I had this set idea of what it was supposed to look like. But the thing is, love looks different to different people, and I realized that throughout my life, when I felt like I wasn't loved, it's not that the other person didn't love me, it's just that they loved me in a different way. Sometimes their love is shaped by fear, by what they saw growing up, or by what they never fully healed from. And sometimes the way they know how to love just isn't the kind of love that I wanted to receive. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that I wasn't worthy or I wasn't chosen. It just means that they didn't have the right language, the right tools, and the right depth to meet me where I wanted to be met. And that's okay too. And I've learned that it's important to recognize and appreciate love in all of its forms, whether that be in a hug, a home-cooked meal, them taking out the trash for you, or them sending you a small text to ask you how you are. Those are all quiet expressions of love, even if they're not spoken through sweet romantic words. You must respect and admire your partner. You should be able to look at them and think that they are the coolest person that you know. And ask yourself this question. If someone said, "You remind me of your partner," would you take that as a compliment? If not, you're probably with the wrong person, because who you choose to be with has a massive impact on who you will become. So choose your partner wisely. So those are the 11 lessons I've learned about love recently. Let me know in the comments which one of these resonated with you, or what lessons that you've learned from your relationships. I'd be really curious to know. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to join the Reloved family. I am sending you so much love, and I will see you in my next video.